Chapter 28. The wicked flee when no man pursueth, but the righteous are bold as a lion. For the transgression of a land many are the princes thereof, but by a man of understanding and knowledge the state thereof shall be prolonged. A poor man that oppresseth the poor is like a sweeping rain which leaveth no food. They that forsake the law praise the wicked, but such as keep the law contend with them. Evil men understand not judgment, but they that seek the Lord understand all things. Better is the poor that walketh in his uprightness than he that is perverse in his ways, though he be rich. Whoso keepeth the law is a wise son, but he that is a companion to riotous men shameth his father. He that by usury and unjust gain increaseth his substance, he shall gather it for him that will pity the poor. He that turneth away his ear from hearing the law, even his prayer shall be abomination. Whoso causeth the righteous to go astray in an evil way, he shall fall himself into his own pit, but the upright shall have good things in possession. The rich man is wise in his own conceit, but the poor that hath understanding searches him out. When righteous men do rejoice, there is great glory, but when the wicked rise, a man is hidden. He that covereth his sins shall not prosper, but whoso confesseth and forsaketh them shall have mercy. Happy is the man that feareth alway, but he that hardeneth his heart shall fall into mischief. As a roaring lion and a raging bear, so is a wicked ruler over the poor people. The prince that wanteth understanding is also a great oppressor, but he that hateth covetousness shall prolong his days. A man that doth violence to the blood of any person shall flee to the pit. Let no man stay him. Whoso walketh uprightly shall be saved, but he that is perverse in his ways shall fall at once. He that tilleth his land shall have plenty of bread, but he that followeth after vain persons shall have poverty enough. A faithful man shall abound with blessings, but he that maketh haste to be rich shall not be innocent. To have respect of persons is not good, for a piece of bread that man will transgress. He that hasteth to be rich hath an evil eye, and considereth not that poverty shall come upon him. He that rebuketh a man afterward shall find more favor than he that flattereth with the tongue. Whoso robbeth his father or his mother, and saith, It is no transgression, the same is the companion of a destroyer. He that is of a proud heart stirreth up strife, but he that putteth his trust in the Lord shall be made fat. He that trusteth in his own heart is a fool, but whoso walketh wisely, he shall be delivered. He that giveth unto the poor shall not lack, but he that hideth his eyes shall have many a curse. When the wicked rise, men hide themselves, but when they perish, the righteous increase. Here we see verse 1, again one of the most commonly quoted of the Proverbs. I've heard this one, I have no idea how many times, but I have heard it many times. The wicked flee when no man pursueth. In other words, if you're guilty, you run away rather than stand and face it. The indication here is, but the righteous are bold as a lion. And then verse 3, a poor man that oppresseth the poor is like a sweeping rain which leaveth no food. A sweeping rain would be a rain that is driven by an intense wind that basically would ruin everything that's growing. All the grain, all the other things. So there would be no food left. It would all be destroyed. Now, here is verse 7. Whoso keepeth the law is a wise son, but he that is a companion of riotous men shameth his father. Seen that many times. He that by usury and unjust gain increaseth his substance, he shall gather it for him that will pity the poor. In other words, very often those people who are the worst at taking advantage of people find that maybe after they've died, somebody in their family will actually share it back with people it was taken from. Not necessarily the same people, but the poor and the oppressed. Verse 9, he that turneth away his ear from hearing the law, even his prayer shall be an abomination. In other words, there's no point in just going through the sham routine of making a prayer if you're not gonna pay attention to the law to do it. If you're not interested in what and how to deal with Heavenly Father and how to deal with your fellow man, do not think that you can go through the outward pretensions of being faithful and it's going to count anything. It isn't. If you want Heavenly Father to pay attention to the prayers you offer, you have got to be personally righteous. Said in verse 11, the rich man is wise in his own conceit, but the poor that hath understanding searcheth him out. In other words, the rich man thinks he's rich because he did it all himself. But the poor man that has understanding searches him, could be the poor man, or could be the rich man. He studies this thing out. He understands that there are reasons why things are the way they are. And maybe it's best that he is poor and not rich. Interesting how these things go. Verse 12, when righteous men do rejoice, there is great glory. But when the wicked rise, a man is hidden. And what that means is, when the wicked rise up to do evil, then a man is hidden. A man could be killed, a man could be taken away, a man could disappear. That's what the wicked men do. They take advantage of men. He that covereth his sins, verse 13, shall not prosper, but whoso confesseth and forsaketh them shall have mercy. Heavenly Father's in charge. He knows what to do. Happy is the man that feareth always. Talking about fear, basically respects God always. But he that hardeneth his heart, what do I have to do? Why should I be worried about God? Shall fall into mischief. Going to happen. Seen it happen many times. The prince that wanteth understanding, what that means is the prince that lacks understanding is also a great oppressor. Ones who look at themselves and say, well, I'm the prince, I can do what I want. We saw that happen in the princes of northern Israel, and how they basically said, we can do what we want. We don't care if you may be the king, but that's tough. We're going to go and do our own thing. We'll have our own kingdom. And that didn't last very long. A man that doth violence to the blood of any person shall flee to the pit. Means hell. Let no man stay him. Let no man stop him. Okay. Verse 19. He that tilleth the land shall have plenty of bread. But he that followeth after vain persons, those people who don't do actual work, but actually are following people who want to give great impressions of how wonderful they are, but who don't have any work that they do, who don't produce anything, the people who follow after them will have nothing either. To have respect of persons, verse 21, is not good. In other words, just because somebody might be rich or well-to-do or have a great reputation doesn't mean that you should give them anything in judgment. They don't deserve any more than the poorest of the poor. For a piece of bread, that man will transgress. In other words, if he's a man who respects other people, a man who decides that, well, you're a noble, so you're better than this poor serf, or you're a rich man, you're better than this poor man, then you are doing wrong. Verse 24, whoso robbeth his father and his mother, and saith, it is no transgression, the same is the companion of a destroyer. And verse 26, he that trusteth in his own heart is a fool, but whoso walketh wisely, he shall be delivered. Seen that many times.